As a non-native English speaker, I grew up watching YouTube and it helped me fully immerse myself in new languages. But just watching YouTube doesn't magically make you fluent. I studied Japanese for 3 years in university and I started learning French after moving to Canada. Once I had the basics down, YouTube became one of my favorite tools to improve my listening and comprehension skills. You've probably heard of creating different YouTube accounts for each language to build an immersive environment, but in this video, I want to introduce a method that's even more effective: content and language integrated learning. It is a technique where you learn a new subject through a foreign language. It is often used in classrooms where kids learn a new subject, such as science or history in another language. But in my opinion, it can be anything that you're curious about. For example, I really started speaking English fluently when I became obsessed with American pop culture. I look up music, movies, and fashion. While exploring those topics, I was also teaching myself a language, and YouTube made that process even easier. Once you're interested in something, the algorithm recommends more. So let's talk about exactly how I use this method in my daily life. There are two ways I use YouTube for teaching myself new subjects. The first way is super low effort but surprisingly useful. It is to play it in the background. Play them in your target language while you're doing routine tasks such as cleaning, cooking, commuting, and etc. This way I can multitask and practice listening at the same time. I prefer casual videos such as vlogs or any topics that I'm interested in. The benefit of doing this is to get used to the natural talking speed and intonation. This helps build familiarity and reduces that foreign feeling when you start learning more actively. It also trains your ear to recognize common phrases and sentence patterns, even if you don't know what they mean yet. My second way of using YouTube is to understand what they're talking about in the video by listening carefully and taking notes. This is way more effective for long-term retention. Let's break it down step by step. Speaking of taking notes, you will need a notebook first. It's not just any notebook, it's a commonplace book. I came across the idea of commonplacing last year and I thought it would be a great idea to use it for language learning. Commonplace book is for compiling knowledge such as notes, facts, and quotes. I use it for the same purpose. I have lyrics written down to help me with Korean. I also use it for doing my French homework. So there are things like a family tree, and I also write like small paragraphs. This inspires me to experiment with how I learn and helps me feel less pressured about formatting things perfectly. So I highly recommend trying it. Then think about what kind of subjects do you want to learn in a foreign language. You can think about what's popular in that country, for example, sado. Not only you get to learn about authentic Japanese tea ceremony, but also know about all of the terms they use in this specific context. I personally love vintage shopping in Japan, and people can find high-end brand in a reasonable price, but I don't really know what to look for in a vintage shop, so I search for tips and places to go to in Japanese. This way you learn more about the culture and the language as well. For me, I look for channels and videos that include subtitles and break down important parts so I understand how they use certain expressions. Another tip is to find the ones that are made by native speakers so it holds more authority. It also helps me to build a good habit of listening in the target language entirely without translations. I find these types of videos super helpful because when I consume media, I usually just let words slip by without figure them out. Because reading is typically easier than listening and speaking, it's easier for me to process when there are subtitles and explanations. I've been consuming media in different languages for a long time, but I hardly improve without actually learning and writing them down. So I make sure to jot down new words or phrases I come across. Because of the flexibility of YouTube platform, you can pause, replay, and even change the speed of the video. By putting a little bit of effort and using these features, you can practice in your target language without a partner. When you hear a useful phrase or interesting expression, pause the video and write it down, then repeat it out loud. C'est captivant et bouleversant.
Pendant mon temps libre, je fais de la photographie.
You can also try to use it in your own sentence for practice. Something I like to do is rewatch the video again, but without looking at the subtitles. This is a great practice to test yourself. After you've already knew what happened in the video, you're likely to understand more compared to the first time. Lastly, go back to your commonplace book regularly. I love taking notes, but I've realized that reviewing them is just as important. Some of the review ideas can be summarize a video in a few sentences without looking anything up, flip through your old notes before starting a new video, or just repeat expressions you wrote down earlier. Repetition helps reinforce your memory and builds confidence over time.